Good evening. So apparently the police are on patrol doing random spot checks in Norbury in southwest London, SW16, just close by to where I live. I was told this by a very kind shopkeeper. Actually, it was the owner of the fish and chip shop on the London Road, which is equivalent to like the local high street in the Norbury area. And I went in there to give my order, and he just gestured to me. He said, "Be careful. There's police around. Be careful of your mouth," because I wasn't wearing a face covering. So I said, "Okay, I'll go and stand outside whilst I wait for my order." And then when my order was ready, he called me back in, and I said, "So are they coming into like all the shops and doing random spot checks?" And he said, "Yeah, he had them in kind of like just earlier on, doing random spot checks on people, kind of like making sure that people were putting their face coverings on." So that's very interesting. But of course, I also said to him, I said that, "But I'm exempt," and he said, "Oh yeah, okay, you'll be fine." But this all comes down to being informed. Because if you're not informed, and of course you'll get fined if you're not informed. I'm not quite sure if the actual process of that is actually viable, given the current situation of the entire governmental and legal system as I understand it. Um, but um, but yeah, it all comes down to being informed. If you're not informed of your rights, just wait for this train to go past. Um, if you're not informed of your rights and you don't understand what you can and can't do legally, um, and what you're obliged to do and what you're not obliged to do, then of course you'll get caught out. But the more informed you are, and the more successful you'll be and not be caught out. And of course, the other thing is not to be really kind of like not to provoke or be aggressive. I've always found that the best thing that works straight away is to be completely calm. If somebody approaches you, I have been approached by British Transport Police as well as the equivalent in Wales when I was on the train, a Welsh train in Wales, travelling to yeah. There's a lot of trains here. This is the main line which passes through between uh, Norbury and London Victoria. So we've actually got four lines. We've got two fast up and down lines and two slow up and down lines. That's four tracks we've got going on over there behind our fence. But yeah, anyway, so I completely lost my track and lost my thread with all of that. So yeah, so yeah, be informed. Don't be aggressive to start off with. Um, just be calm and polite. And I believe the words that perhaps the police officers are told in their training is engagement. So engage with them. Just be engaging, be polite, don't be aggressive. Just be calm, just politely tell them that I'm exempt. And there's a whole list of reasons why you could be exempt. And absolutely anybody actually could be exempt. And there is no legal obligation to disclose detailed medical history, because that is between you and a GP and any other medical professional who is treating you or working with you. It's your sole discretion and your legal right to not have to disclose information which is not related to a medical treatment matter. And that is how it is in the UK. I can't speak for how it is in in the other part of the world, but thankfully we are not of the regulations as they are in other countries, which, for instance, in Hong Kong, I do believe that there are no exemptions. If you can't wear a face covering, then you must stay at home. Otherwise, well, I guess we've seen what happens to the kind of like the protesters in Hong Kong before they brought in the rules which shut down most kind of like public demonstrations, I believe. And I want to give out to just wait for this other train to go past. Just want to give a shout out to Florida, the state of Florida in the USA, because a couple of days ago they opened up and got rid of a lot of the rules and regulations. I checked into this because there was quite a lot of excitement on social media, and I was hoping that they had completely opened up and got rid of all of the COVID rules and regulations. I don't believe that is quite the case, but certainly for the hospitality trade, the restaurants and the bars, basically no restaurants and bars are mandated to force their customers to wear masks and face coverings. They can open up when they like, and there's no mandate or rules and regulations in Florida for people to wear face masks unless they want to, of course, and that's completely up to them. Of course, that's always has been, it's a free will choice. But and any local counties within Florida who wish to impose COVID rules such as masks and face coverings, they have to justify it to the state governor as to there should be a damn good reason why financially and medically as to why they want to impose local regulations. Otherwise, if things go on the way they are, then I will think I will be booking my holidays to Florida for Christmas. Oh, and by the way, this was my fish and chips, 2 containers, because one for the fish, which was actually grilled cod in this case, and salad, and the other one for the chips, because if you have the chips, because there's not enough room actually if you put both the fish and the chips in the same container, because of and also because the fish is grilled, so it's a bit more delicate than the usual battered fish. So yeah, if you have the chips in a separate container, they remain crispy until they get home. I mean, it's only a 10-minute walk from the fish and chip place to my home, so and the chips are still crispy by the time they get home. Unlike if by default they serve them in the bag, if you have them in a bag when they go soggy, and of course some people like soggy chips, which is fine, that's their choice. So anyway, that's enough for me rabbiting on my waffling for today. So I'll see you again. Take care for now. Cheers. So just very quickly an addendum now, that actually one of the main reasons for me going to record a video about the owner of the fish and chip shop, who informed me that the police were doing spot checks, was it struck me actually how kind he was actually, and patient. Like he didn't, when I went into his shop, he wouldn't ask me to put on a face mask straight away. He just gave me a friendly warning that the police were patrolling the area. And then when I struck up a further conversation, when I went back in afterwards to collect my food order, I was just struck. It just struck me on kind of like how kind he was. Basically he was looking out for me. He was just basically saying, yeah, I know you're one of my customers, so I just wanted to make sure that I was looking out for you. So that's basically the energy that was coming across. So that kind of like just floored me actually, because I was a bit speechless, to say the least. But I guess that's the difference between going into like a very small privately owned store or shop where there's probably only one, kind of like rather than a chain, versus going to a corporate setting, or a big, kind of like corporate chain of stores where, things are more robotic and dehumanized. And actually, just going back to the post I made earlier on about the place who are quite adamant, or let's say the representative of that restaurant who was quite adamant that I had to use their hand sanitizer. Now, that particular chain of restaurants, I remember when a few years ago when they were really small and there was only one or two of them, maybe only one actually. I have to check it out actually, and find out whether I actually frequented the very first one of their branches before they became much bigger. I'll have to check it out. So it's actually I'm going to say it now now that I'm kind of like I'm recording it anyway. And so the restaurant, the particular branch of restaurant, which the person working the door was adamant that I should have to use hand sanitizer, was Bill's in Victoria. So yeah, the one particular in Victoria is the one. Now I've been to their Richmond and Wimbledon places during COVID, and none of those have been insistent that I use their hand sanitizer. So whether it was just somebody kind of like being a job's worth combined with just kind of like following their training, and not being able to, or believing that they can't deviate it from one single bit, a complete literal interpretation where there's no deviation, there's no, it's computer says no. Anyway, I think that's it from me. So good night.